Hello everyone. Welcome to our CBSE Class 10 Mathematics lesson. In this video, we are going to learn about some applications of trigonometry. So far, we have learned the basic trigonometric ratios like sine, cosine, and tangent. But have you ever wondered how these ratios can actually help us find the height of a building, a tower, or even the distance of an object that we cannot measure directly? That is exactly what we are going to explore in this chapter. We will learn how to use angles of elevation and angles of depression, along with trigonometric ratios, to solve real-life problems. Don't worry if these problems look complicated at first. We'll understand each step slowly and solve the questions in a simple and easy way. So, let's get started with some applications of trigonometry part 1. Let's begin with an interesting question. Imagine you are standing in front of Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world. Can you measure its height using a measuring tape? Obviously, that's not practical. But then, how can we find the height of something that is so tall and so difficult to reach? So, the question is, how can we measure it? We need a smarter method, one that does not require us to actually climb the mountain or measure it from top to bottom. Using a measuring tape would be practically impossible. We cannot stretch a measuring tape from the ground all the way to the top of Mount Everest. This is where trigonometry becomes really useful. Using angles and distances that we can measure easily, we can calculate heights and distances that are difficult or impossible to measure directly. And that is exactly what we are going to learn in some applications of trigonometry. Now, let's look at another interesting situation. Imagine you are standing on one bank of a river and you want to find out the width of the river. But there's a problem. You cannot simply walk across the river with a measuring tape and measure the distance from one bank to the other. That would be difficult and impractical. So, how can we find the width of the river without actually crossing it? Once again, trigonometry comes to our rescue. By measuring suitable distances and angles from the bank, we can calculate the width of the river using trigonometric ratios. So, trigonometry helps us measure not only the height of tall objects, but also distances that are difficult to measure directly. Now, let's take another example. Look at this beautiful structure, the Eiffel Tower. It looks amazing, doesn't it? But here's an interesting question. What is the height of the Eiffel Tower? We can't simply climb all the way to the top and use a measuring tape to find its height. That would be difficult, time-consuming, and definitely not practical. So, how can we measure its height? This is where trigonometry comes in. By standing at a suitable distance from the tower and measuring the angle at which we look towards its top, we can use a trigonometric ratio to calculate its height. So, even when we cannot measure a height directly, trigonometry gives us a simple and practical way to find it. So, what did we observe from all these examples? Whether we want to find the height of a mountain, the width of a river, or the height of a tower, directly measuring these quantities can be difficult or even impossible. But there is a much smarter way. We can use the measurements that are easier to obtain, such as distances and angles, and then apply the concepts of trigonometry to calculate the required height or distance. So, remember this important idea. Heights and distances that are difficult to measure directly can be found by applying trigonometry. And that is the main idea behind some applications of trigonometry. Before we start solving problems based on heights and distances, there are a few important terms that we need to understand. These terms will help us understand the diagrams and solve the questions correctly. The four important terms are: first, line of sight; second, horizontal line; third, angle of elevation; and fourth, angle of depression. Don't worry, these terms may sound a little difficult at first, but they are actually quite simple. We'll understand each one step by step, with easy examples and diagrams. So, let's begin with the first term, line of sight. Now let's understand our first important term, line of sight. Suppose I am standing here and looking at an object, like this cow. My eyes are focused on the cow. Imagine drawing a straight line from my eye to the object. This imaginary line connects the eye of the observer to the object being observed. This line is called the line of sight. So, in simple words, the line of sight is the straight line joining the eye of the observer and the object being viewed. Let's look at a few more examples. Here, I am looking at the door of the tree house. The straight line joining my eye to the door represents the line of sight. Now, I am looking at the flower. Again, the imaginary straight line from my eye to the flower is the line of sight. And here, I am looking at an apple on the tree. The straight line joining my eye to the apple is also a line of sight. Notice something important. The object can be at the same level as our eyes, like the cow. It can be above our eye level, like the door of the tree house or the apple. Or it can be below our eye level, like the flower. In every case, the imaginary straight line joining the observer's eye and the object is called the line of sight. So, remember this simple definition. Line of sight is the line joining the eye of the observer to the object being observed. Keep this concept in mind, because it will be very important when we learn about angles of elevation and depression. Now let's move on to the next important term, angle of elevation. First, notice this horizontal line passing through the eye of the observer. This line is parallel to the ground, and it is called the horizontal line. Now, the observer is looking at the top of the tree. The imaginary line joining the observer's eye to the top of the tree is the line of sight. So, we now have two lines meeting at the observer's eye, the horizontal line and the line of sight. Can you see that these two lines are making an angle? Yes. This angle is called the angle of elevation. In simple words, when we look upward at an object that is above a horizontal line, the angle formed between the horizontal line and the line of sight is called the angle of elevation. So, remember this important point. The angle of elevation is formed when the object is above the horizontal line. For example, when we stand on the ground and look up at the top of a tree, a building, or a tower, the angle we make with the horizontal line is the angle of elevation. And we usually represent this angle by the symbol theta. So, whenever you see the observer looking up, think object above, angle of elevation. This simple idea will help us solve many problems based on heights and distances. Now let's learn about another important term, angle of depression. This time, imagine that I am standing on the balcony of a building and looking down at a flower on the ground. First, notice the line passing through my eye and parallel to the ground. This is the horizontal line. Now, when I look down towards the flower, the imaginary line joining my eye to the flower is the line of sight. So, once again, we have two lines meeting at the observer's eye, the horizontal line and the line of sight. Now, can you see that the line of sight is making an angle with the horizontal line? Yes. This angle is called the angle of depression. In simple words, when we look downward at an object that is below a horizontal line, the angle formed between the horizontal line and the line of sight is called the angle of depression. So, remember this important point. The angle of depression is formed when the object is below the horizontal line. For example, if a person standing on the top of a building looks down at a car, a tree, or a person on the ground, the angle made between the horizontal line and the line of sight is the angle of depression. And, just like before, we usually represent this angle by theta. So, here is an easy way to remember. Looking up, angle of elevation. Looking down, angle of depression. Once you understand this difference, many heights and distances problems become much easier to solve. Now, let's quickly revise all the 4 important terms we have learned. Let's use this example to understand them together. Suppose I am standing on a balcony and looking at different objects around me. First, I look at the eagle in the sky. The imaginary line joining my eye to the eagle is the line of sight. The line passing through my eye and parallel to the ground is the horizontal line. Since the eagle is above the horizontal line, the angle formed between the horizontal line and the line of sight is called the angle of elevation. So, remember, object above, angle of elevation. Now, suppose I look down at the flower on the ground. Again, the imaginary line joining my eye to the flower is the line of sight. But this time, the flower is below the horizontal line. Therefore, the angle formed between the horizontal line and the line of sight is called the angle of depression. So, object below, angle of depression. Let's quickly summarize everything. Line of sight, the imaginary line joining the eye of the observer to the object being observed. Horizontal line, a line passing through the observer's eye and parallel to the ground. Angle of elevation, the angle formed when the object is above the horizontal line. Angle of depression, the angle formed when the object is below the horizontal line. And that's it. If you remember these 4 concepts clearly, you'll have a strong foundation for solving heights and distances problems using trigonometry. Now, let's move ahead and see how we can use these ideas to solve actual problems. Before we start solving problems based on heights and distances, there are a few important points we need to remember while drawing the figures. First point. The height of an object, such as a tower, tree, building, or pole, is always considered as a line segment perpendicular to the ground. In other words, the height is represented by a vertical line, while the ground is represented by a horizontal line. This helps us form a right-angled triangle, which makes it easier to apply trigonometric ratios. Second point. If the height of the observer is not given in the problem, we simply neglect it. That means we consider the observer as a point on the ground or at the given position. For example, if a person is observing an object from the ground and the problem does not mention the person's height, we don't need to include the person's actual height in our calculation. So, while drawing the figure, just represent the observer by a point. Remember these 2 simple rules carefully. Object's height implies perpendicular to the ground. Observer's height not given implies consider the observer as a point. Following these rules will help us draw the correct figure and solve heights and distances problems much more easily. Now, let's solve a simple problem using what we have learned. Here is the question. A circus artist is climbing a 20-meter long rope, which is tightly stretched and tied from the top of a vertical pole to the ground. Find the height of the pole if the angle made by the rope with the ground is 30 degrees. Let's first understand the figure. We have a vertical pole, UB. The rope is tied from the top of the pole, point A, to the ground at point C. So, AC is the rope and its length is given as 20 meters. The angle made by the rope with the ground is 30 degrees. Since the pole is vertical and the ground is horizontal, angle B is 90 degrees. Now look at the right-angled triangle ABC. We need to find the height of the pole, which is AB. We will solve this next. Let's solve this question step by step. We are given that the length of the rope is 20 meters. Let the height of the pole be h meters. Now, let's observe the angle at point C, which is 30 degrees. With respect to this angle, the side opposite to the angle is AB, which represents the height of the pole. The longest side of the right-angled triangle is AC, which represents the rope. So, we have the opposite side and the hypotenuse. Which trigonometric ratio uses the opposite side and the hypotenuse? Yes, it is sine. Therefore, the sine of 30 degrees is equal to the height of the pole divided by the length of the rope. The sine of 30 degrees is 1 by 2. So, 1 by 2 is equal to h divided by 20. Now, cross multiplying, we get 2h is equal to 20. Therefore, h is equal to 20 divided by 2. So, h is equal to 10 meters. Hence, the height of the pole is 10 meters. Remember the method. First, identify the given angle. Next, identify the sides with respect to that angle. Then choose the correct trigonometric ratio. Here, we had the opposite side and the hypotenuse, so we used sine. And finally, we obtained the height of the pole as 10 meters. Let's first read the question carefully. A kite is flying at a height of 60 meters above the ground. The string attached to the kite is temporarily tied to the ground. The inclination of the string with the ground is 60 degrees. Find the length of the string, assuming that there is no slack in the string. Now, let's understand the question and solve it step by step. The kite is at point A, and its height above the ground is 60 meters. So, the vertical height, AB, is 60 meters. The string is represented by AC. Since there is no slack in the string, AC gives us the actual length of the string. Now we will solve this next. Now, let's solve the question properly, step by step, as shown on the slide. We know that AB represents the distance of the kite from the ground. So, AB is equal to 60 meters. Also, AC represents the length of the string, which is what we need to find. We are given that angle ACB is 60 degrees. Now, let's look at this angle. With respect to angle C, AB is the opposite side, while AC is the hypotenuse. The trigonometric ratio involving the opposite side and the hypotenuse is sine. Therefore, the sine of 60 degrees is equal to AB divided by AC. Substituting the values, we get the sine of 60 degrees is equal to 60 divided by AC. We know that the sine of 60 degrees is root 3 divided by 2. So, root 3 divided by 2 is equal to 60 divided by AC. Now, we need to find AC. By cross multiplying, we get AC is equal to 60 multiplied by 2 divided by root 3. 60 multiplied by 2 gives us 120. Therefore, AC is equal to 120 divided by root 3. But we still have root 3 in the denominator. So, let's rationalize the denominator. We multiply both the numerator and denominator by root 3. This gives us 120 multiplied by root 3 divided by root 3 multiplied by root 3. Root 3 multiplied by root 3 is 3. Therefore, we get 120 root 3 divided by 3. Now, 120 divided by 3 is 40. So, AC is equal to 40 root 3 meters. If we want the answer in decimal form, we use the approximate value of root 3 as 1.73. Therefore, 40 multiplied by 1.73 gives us 69.2. Hence, the length of the string is approximately 69.2 meters. So, the final answer is 69.2 meters. Let us take another problem based on angles of elevation. A contractor plans to install 2 slides for the children to play in a park. For the children below the age of 5 years, she prefers to have a slide whose top is at a height of 1.5 meters and is inclined at an angle of 30 degrees to the ground. Whereas, for older children, she wants to have a step slide at a height of 3 meters and inclined at an angle of 60 degrees to the ground. What should be the length of the slide in each case? Let us look at the given figure carefully. For the first slide, the height is 1.5 meters and the angle made by the slide with the ground is 30 degrees. For the second slide, the height is 3 meters and the angle made by the slide with the ground is 60 degrees. We will find the lengths of both slides using trigonometric ratios in the next step. Now, let us solve the first case. Let the length of the slide for the children below 5 years be represented by x meters. We are given that the height of the first slide is 1.5 meters. Now, observe the angle at the bottom of the slide. It is 30 degrees. With respect to this 30-degree angle, the opposite side is the height of the slide, which is 1.5 meters. The hypotenuse is the length of the slide, which is x meters. The ratio of the opposite side to the hypotenuse reminds us of sine. Therefore, the sine of 30 degrees is equal to 1.5 divided by x. We know that the sine of 30 degrees is 1 divided by 2. So, 1 divided by 2 is equal to 1.5 divided by x. Now, we cross multiply. We get x equal to 1.5 multiplied by 2. Therefore, x is equal to 3. So, the length of the slide for children below 5 years is 3 meters. Now, let us solve the second case for the elder children. Let the length of the second slide be y meters. The height of this slide is 3 meters and the angle made by the slide with the ground is 60 degrees. Let us observe the angle at point R. With respect to this 60-degree angle, the opposite side is PQ, which is 3 meters. The hypotenuse is PR, which is y meters. The ratio of the opposite side to the hypotenuse reminds us of sine. Therefore, the sine of 60 degrees is equal to 3 divided by y. We know that the sine of 60 degrees is root 3 divided by 2. Therefore, root 3 divided by 2 is equal to 3 divided by y. Now, cross-multiplying, we get root 3 multiplied by y is equal to 3 multiplied by 2, which gives us 6. So, y is equal to 6 divided by root 3. Now, we need to rationalize the denominator. For this, we multiply both the numerator and the denominator by root 3. So, y becomes 6 multiplied by root 3 divided by 3. On simplifying, 6 divided by 3 becomes 2. Therefore, y is equal to 2 root 3. Using the approximate value of root 3 as 1.73, we get 2 multiplied by 1.73, which is 3.46. Therefore, the length of the second slide is 3.46 meters. So, the first slide is 3 meters long, and the slide for the elder children is 3.46 meters long. Let us take the next question. The angle of elevation of the top of a tower from a point on the ground, which is 30 meters away from the foot of the tower, is 30 degrees. we have to find the height of the tower. Let us understand the figure. Here, A represents the top of the tower and B represents the foot of the tower. The observer is standing at point C, which is 30 meters away from the foot of the tower. The line joining the observer to the top of the tower is the line of sight. The angle made by this line of sight with the ground is 30 degrees. Also, the height of the observer is neglected as it is not given in the question. So, we have a right-angled triangle and we need to find the height of the tower. Let us now solve this problem step by step. Now, let us solve this problem step by step. Let the height of the tower, represented by AB, be h meters. We know that the distance of the observer from the foot of the tower is 30 meters. Therefore, BC is 30 meters. Now, let us observe the angle at point C. With respect to this angle of 30 degrees, the opposite side is AB, which represents the height of the tower. The adjacent side is BC, which is 30 meters. The trigonometric ratio involving the opposite side and the adjacent side reminds us of tangent. Therefore, the tangent of 30 degrees is equal to h divided by 30. We know that the tangent of 30 degrees is 1 divided by root 3. So, 1 divided by root 3 is equal to h divided by 30. Now, cross multiplying, we get root 3 multiplied by h is equal to 30. Therefore, h is equal to 30 divided by root 3. We now have a root 3 in the denominator, so let us rationalize the denominator. For this, we multiply both the numerator and denominator by root 3. This gives us 30 root 3 divided by 3. On simplifying, 30 divided by 3 gives 10. Therefore, h is equal to 10 root 3 meters. Using the approximate value of root 3 as 1.73, we get 10 multiplied by 1.73, which is 17.3. Therefore, the height of the tower is 17.3 meters. Let us take the next question. A tree breaks due to a storm, and the broken part bends so that the top of the tree touches the ground, making an angle of 30 degrees with it. The distance between the foot of the tree and the point where the top touches the ground is 8 meters. We have to find the height of the tree. Let us understand the figure. Here, A is the foot of the tree and C is the point where the tree breaks. The broken part of the tree bends from point C and touches the ground at point D. The distance from the foot of the tree to the point where the top touches the ground is 8 meters, so AD is 8 meters. The broken part makes an angle of 30 degrees with the ground. Also, as shown in the figure, the length of the broken part is equal to CD, and this is equal to BC. The complete height of the original tree will therefore be the length from A to C plus the length from C to B. Let us now solve this problem step by step using a suitable trigonometric ratio. Now, let us solve this problem step by step. We know that AB represents the total height of the tree. The tree breaks at point C, so the total height of the tree can be divided into two parts. Therefore, the height of the tree is equal to AC plus BC. We will first find the length of AC. Look at the right-angled triangle ACD. The angle at D is 30 degrees. For this angle, AC is the opposite side and AD is the adjacent side. We know that the distance from the foot of the tree to the point where the top touches the ground is 8 meters. Therefore, AD is 8 meters. The ratio of the opposite side to the adjacent side reminds us of tangent. So, the tangent of 30 degrees is equal to AC divided by AD. We know that the tangent of 30 degrees is 1 divided by root 3. Therefore, 1 divided by root 3 is equal to AC divided by 8. On cross multiplying, we get AC equal to 8 divided by root 3. Now, let us find the length of the broken part, which is BC. Since the broken part of the tree is equal in length to CD, we can write CD equal to BC. Now, look at the right-angled triangle ACD again. For the angle of 30 degrees, AD is the adjacent side and CD is the hypotenuse. The ratio of the adjacent side to the hypotenuse reminds us of cosine. Therefore, the cosine of 30 degrees is equal to AD divided by CD. Since AD is 8 meters and CD is equal to BC, we can write the cosine of 30 degrees as 8 divided by BC. We know that the cosine of 30 degrees is root 3 divided by 2. Therefore, root 3 divided by 2 is equal to 8 divided by BC. On cross multiplying, we get root 3 multiplied by BC is equal to 16. Therefore, BC is equal to 16 divided by root 3. So, we have found both parts of the original tree, AC and BC. In the next step, we will combine these two lengths to find the total height of the tree. Now, we have found both parts of the tree. We know that AC is 8 divided by root 3 meters and BC is 16 divided by root 3 meters. The total height of the tree is the sum of these two parts. So, the height of the tree is 8 divided by root 3 plus 16 divided by root 3. Since the denominators are the same, we add the numerators. 8 plus 16 gives us 24. Therefore, the height of the tree is 24 divided by root 3. Now, we need to rationalize the denominator. For this, we multiply both the numerator and denominator by root 3. This gives us 24 root 3 divided by 3. On simplifying, 24 divided by 3 gives us 8 root 3. So, the height of the tree is 8 root 3 meters. Using the approximate value of root 3 as 1.73, we get 8 multiplied by 1.73, which is 13.84. Therefore, the height of the tree is 13.84 meters. Let us take the next question. From a point on the ground, the angles of elevation of the bottom and the top of a transmission tower, fixed at the top of a 20-meter high building, are 45 degrees and 60 degrees respectively. We have to find the height of the tower. Let us understand the figure. Here, A is the foot of the building and B is the top of the building. The height of the building is given as 20 meters. The transmission tower is fixed on top of the building. So, B represents the bottom of the transmission tower and C represents the top of the transmission tower. The observer is standing at point D on the ground. The angle of elevation of the bottom of the tower, that is point B, is 45 degrees. The angle of elevation of the top of the tower, that is point C, is 60 degrees. The height of the observer is neglected. We need to find the height of the transmission tower, which is the length from B to C. Let us now solve this problem step by step. Now, let us start solving the problem. Let the height of the transmission tower, represented by BC, be x meters. We already know that the height of the building, represented by AB, is 20 meters. First, let us find the distance between the observer and the foot of the building, which is represented by AD. Consider the right-angled triangle ABD. The angle at the observer, point D, is 45 degrees. For this angle, AB is the opposite side and AD is the adjacent side. The ratio of the opposite side to the adjacent side reminds us of tangent. Therefore, the tangent of 45 degrees is equal to AB divided by AD. We know that the tangent of 45 degrees is 1. So, 1 is equal to 20 divided by AD. On rearranging, we get AD equal to 20 meters. Therefore, the distance between the observer and the foot of the building is 20 meters. Now, we need to find the length AC, which represents the total height from the ground up to the top of the transmission tower. The total height AC is the height of the building plus the height of the transmission tower. So, AC is equal to 20 plus x meters. In the next step, we will use the angle of elevation of 60 degrees to find the value of x. Now, let us find the height of the transmission tower. We have already found that AD is 20 meters. We also know that the height of the building is 20 meters and the height of the transmission tower is x meters. Therefore, the total height AC is 20 plus x meters. Now, consider the right-angle triangle CAD. We are looking at the angle of elevation of 60 degrees at point D. For this angle, AC is the opposite side, while AD is the adjacent side. The ratio of the opposite side to the adjacent side reminds us of tangent. Therefore, the tangent of 60 degrees is equal to AC divided by AD. The tangent of 60 degrees is root 3. So, root 3 is equal to 20 plus x divided by 20. Now, multiply both sides by 20. We get 20 root 3 is equal to 20 plus x. Subtract 20 from both sides. Therefore, x is equal to 20 root 3 minus 20. Taking 20 common, we get x is equal to 20 times root 3 minus 1. Now, using the approximate value of root 3 as 1.73, we get x is equal to 20 times 1.73 minus 1. That gives us 20 times 0.73, which is 14.6. Therefore, the height of the transmission tower is 14.6 meters. Let us first understand the question and the figure carefully. A statue of height 1.6 meters stands on top of a pedestal. From a point on the ground, the angle of elevation of the top of the statue is 60 degrees. From the same point on the ground, the angle of elevation of the top of the pedestal is 45 degrees. We have to find the height of the pedestal. Now let us understand the figure. The bottom of the pedestal is marked as point A. The top of the pedestal is marked as point B. The top of the statue is marked as point C. The observer is standing at point D on the ground. The vertical line from point A to point C represents the total height from the ground to the top of the statue. The vertical part from point A to point B represents the height of the pedestal, which is unknown. The part from point B to point C represents the height of the statue, which is given as 1.6 meters. Therefore, the total height from point A to point C consists of the height of the pedestal plus the height of the statue. Two lines of sight are drawn from the observer at point D. The lower line of sight goes from point D to point B, the top of the pedestal. It makes an angle of 45 degrees with the ground. The upper line of sight goes from point D to point C, the top of the statue. It makes an angle of 60 degrees with the ground. The height of the observer is neglected, as indicated in the figure. Also, the horizontal ground distance from point A to point D is common to both right-angled triangles. So, the figure gives us two right-angled triangles. The smaller triangle is formed by the bottom of the pedestal, the top of the pedestal, and the observer. The larger triangle is formed by the bottom of the pedestal, the top of the statue, and the observer. We will use these two triangles in the next step to find the height of the pedestal. Now let us solve the problem step by step using the figure. Let the height of the pedestal, represented by AB, be h meters. The height of the statue is given as 1.6 meters. Therefore, the total height from A to C is h plus 1.6 meters. Now, observe angle D. First, let us consider the smaller right-angled triangle ABD. For the angle at D, the opposite side is AB, which represents h, and the adjacent side is AD. The ratio of the opposite side to the adjacent side reminds us of tangent. Therefore, the tangent of 45 degrees is equal to h divided by AD. We know that the tangent of 45 degrees is 1. So, 1 is equal to h divided by AD. Therefore, AD is equal to h. This gives us an important result that we will use in the next triangle. Now, let us consider the larger right-angled triangle ACD. For the angle at D, the opposite side is AC. The total height AC is h plus 1.6 meters. The adjacent side is AD, which we have already found to be h. The ratio of the opposite side to the adjacent side reminds us of tangent. Therefore, the tangent of 60 degrees is equal to h plus 1.6 divided by h. We know that the tangent of 60 degrees is root 3. So, root 3 is equal to h plus 1.6 divided by h. Now, multiply both sides by h. This gives us h multiplied by root 3 is equal to h plus 1.6. Next, bring h to the left-hand side. So, h multiplied by root 3 minus h is equal to 1.6. Take h as the common factor. We get h multiplied by root 3 minus 1 is equal to 1.6. Finally, divide both sides by root 3 minus 1. Therefore, h is equal to 1.6 divided by root 3 minus 1. So, we have now obtained the expression for the height of the pedestal. In the next step, we will rationalize the denominator and find the numerical value of the height. Now we have reached the final part of the calculation. From the previous step, we obtained the height of the pedestal as 1.6 divided by root 3 minus 1. We cannot leave the answer with a surd in the denominator, so we will rationalize the denominator. For this, we multiply the numerator and denominator by the conjugate of root 3 minus 1. The conjugate of root 3 minus 1 is root 3 plus 1. Therefore, we multiply both the numerator and denominator by root 3 plus 1. In the denominator, we now have root 3 minus 1 multiplied by root 3 plus 1. This is in the form a minus b multiplied by a plus b, which gives a square minus b square. So, the denominator becomes root 3 squared minus 1 squared. Root 3 squared is 3, and 1 squared is 1. Therefore, the denominator becomes 3 minus 1, which is 2. In the numerator, we have 1.6 multiplied by root 3 plus 1. So, we get 1.6 divided by 2, multiplied by root 3 plus 1. 1.6 divided by 2 is 0.8. Therefore, the height of the pedestal becomes 0.8 multiplied by root 3 plus 1. Now we use the approximate value of root 3 as 1.73. Substituting this value, we get 0.8 multiplied by 2.73. Multiplying these values gives 2.184. Therefore, the height of the pedestal is 2.184 meters. Thank you for watching. I hope this lesson helped you understand the concept clearly. For worksheets, notes, test papers, videos, and study planner, visit our website. Also, join our Telegram channel to get regular updates. Links are given in the description box below. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.